everybody, Mr. Hague here, and today we're going to be discussing a set of new icons here. And if you look in Photoshop, okay, it are these three icons right underneath the paint bucket, and they are the blur tool, sharpen tool, and smudge tools. Now, why Photoshop decided to put them together, I'm not sure, because blur and sharpen are complete opposites. Smudge, well, they don't really have anything to do with the other two, do they? But regardless, we're going to study them anyways. Alrighty, so if we zoom out, and let me go ahead and showcase, here are the exercise files right here. So if you go to folder ep16_1, okay, you've got the blur JPEG right there, which is a bunch of in a crowd, looks like they're having fun. We'll look at this beautiful diamond, okay, and then we're going to focus on smudging these mixtures of colors. And of course, we're not going to smudge the brick wall. We're going to actually, well, create graffiti and mimic a dripping spray paint. All right, so let's go ahead and bring in the smudge 02, smudge 01, sharpen JPEG, and the blur.jpg. So let's go ahead and right click, okay, open with Photoshop. I already happen to have them in there, and let's go ahead and start with the blur tool. So here it is right here. The blur tool is a really interesting kind of tool here, and it's obviously does exactly what the name mentions, blurring. Okay, now mind you, there are other options provided in Photoshop. So if you're underneath the paint bucket tool, let's go ahead and select the blur tool. You might already be there because it's by default usually the first icon of a set. And if you look up here, it is also a brush tool. It uses a brush size and everything, so I can go ahead and you'll see my little circle over there. This is a 94 pixels brush, and I guess I'll keep it there. And the strength is the one that really is what you need to focus on. Okay, the strength is at 100%. So in other words, the minute or the second it touches, the blur tool starts to work. Of course, you can lessen the impact of the blur by decreasing the percentage. I'm going to keep it at 100 just in case. Let's not worry about the angle right now. Okay, so let's say we are looking for a bunch of hoodlums. They love the concert, but they trash the place. Well, we're going to look for them, except in this picture, we have somebody innocent. Now, we don't want to expose that innocent person now, do we? All right, let's say this guy right here is innocent, everybody else is guilty. So what you're going to do right here is you're going to use a brush, okay, that's about the size of his face, all right, and his fingers also covering his face, but that's okay. So you've already selected the blur tool, and then all you're going to do is notice the image kind of already blurs. And you got to click a lot for it to work. Okay, so that's the only drawback. And if you look at the history tool palette, okay, the blur tool, well, there's a lot of blurriness. All right, so that's after, and that's before. After, before. However, I'm going to show you a better way to blur. Alright, so let's go back to the opening image. Okay, get rid of all the blurry stuff that we've done by clicking on the, when you go to the history palette here, click on blur.jpg on the very top. And what you can do is this, click on the marquee tool, okay, which is, or the elliptical marquee tool, and go ahead and draw around the face. Now the one thing about the previous brush, if you notice, that it also covered the guy next to him. Well, we got to show that guy, right? So by using the marquee tool now, I can actually control where it's positioned. I can move the marquee over so it does cover the finger, but it covers the face as well. Now watch this. I'm going to instead use filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. Look at his face now. Gone. No touching, no clicking, just gone. Okay, so we've protected his face. What if this guy was actually the one who's guilty and everybody else is innocent? All right, let's go back to the very beginning. Let's go to history, click on blur.jpg right there. Let's go ahead and take the elliptical marquee tool, select his face. This time we're going to hide everybody else. Let's go to select up here, inverse. Now look at this. It seems like this person's face is actually selected, but it also seems like everything else is selected. Well, let me tell you, everything but his face is selected. Okay, let me show you. If I do a command copy or copy, create a new document, and then paste, look at that. His face was not selected. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. So now that's what select inverse does. You select a face and then inverse it. You select everything but that area that you thought you were going to select. Alright, so here it is right here. And now let's go back to Gaussian blur. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And look at that. Alright, so he's guilty. Alrighty, and that's basically the blur tool. Alrighty, hopefully you enjoyed it. Let's go on to the next tool, which is the sharpen tool. Stay tuned.